Hello and welcome to Picture Astrology. In this quick snap video, we will learn about placement of Rahu in the very first house of your horoscope and what kind of results or interpretation can be expected by this placement. And Rahu, as you know, many people also call it North Node or the dragon's head, has always had a kind of mysterious cloud around it. So in next few minutes, we will try to unravel the mystery of Rahu in first house. So in the earlier videos of Rahu-Ketu series, we have learned about some of the fundamentals as in relates to Rahu and Ketu. And those fundamentals include what these 2 points of Rahu and Ketu or North Node and South Node are, how they are formed, why they take 18.5 years to rotate around Earth, and also how they move around Earth, how their motion is like that of a snake. The orbital motion of Rahu and Ketu around Earth is not like any other planet. And we've also seen why they relate to DNA and RNA or genes of human body. And then we also understood some of the basic principles of interpretation or predictions using Rahu and Ketu points. Those basic points which we understood in my previous videos are the ones which we are going to utilize and try to understand the specific effects of Rahu in very first house. So the very first thing about Ascendant is that it is the point of beginning of life. So Ascendant, which is the point which is rising in the eastern horizon at the time of your birth, actually shows what is it that is taking birth. And as my guru always used to say, the horoscope or chart, it is your chart. And you in this horoscope is denoted by the rising point or the ascendant point. So Ascendant is the true physical and mental depiction of you in your chart. And when you have Rahu or North Node affecting that, it can say a lot about your birth. And as we learned earlier that Rahu and Ketu are actually related with the DNA or genes of a person. And Rahu is in particular related with the paternal side of genes or father side of family. So it is generally said that when Rahu affects any of the ascendant points, that means ascendant or lord of ascendant or lord of first house, then the birth is from the father's side of family. Meaning you can say that the soul which has taken birth is somebody who in past was ancestor from the paternal side of the family or father side of the family, because Rahu in particular shows grandfather, so it could be anyone related from the grandfather side. Now depending upon other influences on Rahu, you can actually get a much clearer picture. See, for example, if Rahu is associated with some kind of female planets like Moon or Venus, then the birth could be of or rebirth could be of that of a female from the grandfather side of family. If Rahu is associated with the male planets, then it could be from somebody male from the grandfather side of family. Now say if Mercury is associated, see, Mercury represents aunts, Mercury represents cousins, and more specifically if you look at the Lord of Ascendant and find out the influences on this from some divisional charts, then you can actually pinpoint to a much greater degree about the previous birth of the native. But most importantly, most of the cases when you see an horoscope which has Rahu in the first house, the characteristics of the person generally matches with the father side of the family more than the mother side of the family. And in many cases, the facial structure etc. also would be borrowed from the father more than the mother. And those things you could see very early in person's life, very early stages of life. And it is said that up to about 7 years of life, person usually acts out of the influences from the previous birth. It is said in Vedic astrology that until the person attains about 7 years of age, most of his acts will be governed by not from things which he has learned in this life but from the previous lives. So very early in life you can see, if you see any horoscope with Rahu in the first house, that the person usually demonstrate traits from the paternal side of the family. Now another thing with Rahu, what is Rahu? Rahu is odd. Rahu is not somebody common. Rahu at times, and we have seen in earlier videos about how to predict Rahu and Ketu, is that Rahu actually is an accelerator. It accelerates something, and that oddity which I am talking about will also be an exaggerated version of what is promised in the horoscope. So what it means is, say if the chart shows an attractive personality, person with a good physical features, then Rahu's influence will make it mysteriously attractive. It will be almost intoxicatingly attractive in that case. Okay. And on the other hand, if the chart shows an odd personality, the features could be really odd. But as I said, Rahu and Ketu alone will not dictate the basics of how a person looks. The very, very important thing to understand is Rahu and Ketu will act as an accelerator or as a catalyst to what the chart is actually promising. Because if you read classics, you might find very plain and disagreeable explanations about Rahu in first house, but that is not found to be truth in practical life. In practical life, as I said, Rahu and Ketu will only accentuate or become a catalyst in what is already promised in that chart. Now physically, if we talk about, since Ascendant shows your body, Rahu is an airy planet, or it is given the element of air, and this generally makes the body a little taller than usual. And another important thing which is found generally in most Rahu in first house personalities is that their face would be also little on the taller side, especially the chin part. Chin would be sort of narrowing down very quickly, and that may also give little odd looking face. However, as I said, if the chart shows an attractive personality, it will accentuate that attraction also. But generally speaking, they have a little taller body, a chin, especially many people who I know, they can actually look at the face of the person, especially the chin part, and can say very clearly whether the person is Rahu in the first house or not. Now first house is also your mind, because Ascendant or first house contains your brain, so how you logically think. And as we know from my previous video, Rahu is a very smart person. Rahu is all brain plus senses. So when this Rahu affects your Ascendant, it definitely can make a person really, really smart. Now again, don't forget that accelerator thing. Given there is any influence of, say, Mercury is the planet of smartness. If that Mercury is well placed, well, the person could be really very, very smart. At the same time, it can give a very sensual personality, because as we again from my previous video would have seen, Rahu is all senses. And now if the chart promises, generally speaking, if the chart also shows a very sensual disposition, then Rahu's presence in the first house can make the person really, really indulgent, extra indulgent. But this again will happen only when the chart has promise. Rahu is only going to accentuate it. And this also shows a great desire in the person to succeed in physical life or in worldly life and fulfill his desires. Also a great desire for name and fame. Rahu in first house is generally associated with a person who likes to be recognized well in society. Now, what kind of recognition he would seek, that depends on influences on the first house. So if Jupiter influences the first house, he will seek reputation, recognition among higher society, among intellectuals, among learned people, and so on. Now, coming back to the beginning of life thing, see, Rahu, when it is in the first house, it can show a little difficult birth, difficulty at the time of birth. Now, when can you predict it with certainty? So I recently saw a horoscope in which fourth house had Mars. And this Mars was not alone, it had an aspect of Saturn. And at the same time, Rahu was in the first house. So when fourth house is afflicted, it shows trouble to mother at the time of birth of the child. And with Rahu in the first house, I could say with certainty that there would have been trouble in the birth of child. And that exactly was the case. The child was a premature baby and a lot of medical help was needed during the pregnancy. So you see, this is another clear example of how to predict using Rahu-Ketu. Now, it will not always be the case. If the fourth house was not afflicted, I would not have predicted a difficult birth. If fourth house had all the good influences and including Rahu in good influence, then you cannot predict a difficult birth of the child. Now, if you read, again, I'm just saying, if you read any books, or especially the old books, it will say, difficulty at the birth of the child. So they assume that you would understand the basics of Rahu-Ketu interpretation, which we have covered earlier, and then apply it holistically. Now since Rahu rules the mind, and we know Rahu is odd or something which society doesn't like, then this behavior can come about in variety of ways. This can give a personality who doesn't care about what others think. They want to achieve their goal and they're not interested in what others think or speak or talk about them. And because of that, now again, if the chart has any other indication which support it, then the person can indulge in things which are not usually accepted by society, or they can either break social rules or go beyond it. Now remember, great revolutionaries have also always done that. Anyone who has ever revolutionized society has always broken the accepted rules and norms of that day and time. But is it always the revolutionary who breaks social rules? No. Who really normally breaks social rules too. So this Rahu can give tendency to go beyond the rules, to set your own laws, whether it will be in a direction which is for the good of yourself or for your own detriments, that is determined by the chart. But yes, a tendency to not care about others, a tendency to freely exert your will is generally associated with this Rahu. Now, this can manifest in many ways. It can manifest in your dressing sense. People may just like to dress in very odd manner if this Rahu is little bit afflicted, and especially if it is in watery sign. So friend, this is some of the ways in which you can interpret the Rahu's effect in the first house of your horoscope. I hope you did enjoy this video. Please do like and subscribe to my channel to continue to get more updates like this. Thank you so much for being with me so far, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.